Imagine waking up, right? You turn on your computer and you receive this ransom demand from a group of hackers who just locked down an entire city's critical infrastructure.
Oh, that is the classic modern nightmare scenario right there.
Right. So you're bracing yourself for a number with a lot of zeros.
Yeah.
You figure, a municipality's data has got to be worth millions. But then you look at the demand, and the hackers are only asking for $5,000.
Which is just wild. I mean, it completely shatters that whole Hollywood image of cybercrime we all have.
Yeah, you'd think it was a typo.
Oh, 100%. Your first instinct is definitely to look for the missing zeros because, a sum that low for municipal infrastructure, it just feels completely disproportionate to the perceived effort of the attack.
It really sounds absurd, but it is the current reality on the ground. So welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're unpacking a really fascinating early 2026 discussion featuring two top cybersecurity minds, Pablo Vera from Zscaler and Gonzalo Asensio from Bankinter.
Yeah, and this conversation, which originally aired on a Spanish radio broadcast, it's just packed with insights. They laid out this landscape that is basically mapping a completely new digital battlefield.
Exactly. And that is our mission for today. We're cracking this massive shift in the 2026 cybersecurity landscape. The era of humans hacking humans is pretty much over.
Yeah, we are firmly in the age of machines fighting machines now.
Right. So we're going to explore the rise of agentic AI, and we'll break down what zero trust actually means for your daily digital life. Okay, let's unpack this.
So to frame this discussion properly, we kind of need to acknowledge the underlying tone that Vera and Asensio brought to the table. The geopolitical and technological realities they analyze are, well, they're turbulent.
To say the least.
Right. But their overarching sentiment is actually surprisingly optimistic. The consensus seems to be that while the tools of exploitation are scaling rapidly, the tools of defense are, they're scaling right alongside them.
I mean, I definitely appreciate the optimism, but let's ground this in that $5,000 ransom demand because the mechanics of it are just crazy. The target was this beautiful Spanish municipality, Sanxenxo.
Oh, yeah, that case is fascinating.
Yeah, so they got hit with a ransomware attack, and the town council actually put out a public statement calling the malware stealthy software, which is just, I don't know, a remarkably polite, quirky way of describing standard ransomware.
It really is. It sounds almost gentle.
Right. But Sanxenxo, they actually refused to pay, and they managed to restore their systems using backups. But the source material lists a whole string of recent municipal victims like Adeje in Tenerife, Benil in Murcia, Moradal in Granada.
And those municipal attacks, they reveal this critical shift in the economics of cybercrime. Vera pointed out that the cost of launching a cyber attack has essentially dropped to zero.
Wait, like literally zero?
Pretty much, yeah. In the past, threat actors had to invest, significant time conducting reconnaissance, finding a target, crafting a custom exploit. Now, they just utilize these automated toolkits that continuously scan the entire IPv4 address space.
So they aren't like sitting in a dark room typing furiously to break into Sanxenxo's specific firewall.
Not at all. It's completely automated.
It's like a cheap shotgun blast. Hacking used to be like a sniper rifle, targeting high-value marks.
Yeah.
Now they're just casting this massive automated net across the internet.
Exactly. They just run a script that looks for known unpatched vulnerabilities, maybe an outdated VPN server or some misconfigured remote desktop protocol. And when the script finds an open door, it just deploys the payload automatically.
Wow. So the hackers probably didn't even know what a Sanxenxo was until the system pinged them.
Right. They had no idea. It just popped up saying a lock had been established. And that volume-based business model is, it's the only way a $5,000 ransom even makes sense.
If it's just pure volume?
Exactly. If the marginal cost of infecting an additional network is fractions of a cent, demanding a small, easily payable sum from 1,000 victims yields massive profit with, zero human labor.
That is terrifying.
And Asensio actually contrasted this automated spray and pray approach with targeted corporate breaches, bringing up that devastating attack on Marks and Spencer.
Oh, right. The Marks and Spencer incident is a massive contrast. We are talking about an estimated £300 million impact there.
Yeah, that was huge. They literally had to suspend digital orders.
I remember that. It was such a catastrophic failure that their tech director actually resigned over it.
And that resignation, that is the fulcrum of the current corporate cybersecurity mindset. It really highlights that securing digital infrastructure is no longer this isolated IT function that you just relegate to the basement.
Right. It's not just the IT guy's problem anymore.
No, it is a board-level governance mandate now. When a breach vaporizes 300 million pounds of market value, executive accountability is immediate.
So the juxtaposition of those two types of attacks paints a pretty clear picture. On one end, you have these indiscriminate, highly automated bots just harvesting $5,000 a pop from small towns.
Right.
And on the other end, massive, targeted strikes, crippling retail giants. And the thread connecting them is automation.
Exactly. Automation is the key. And if attackers have automated the discovery of vulnerabilities, well, the natural next step is automating the exploitation phase itself.
Which brings us to the new weapon of choice, right? Artificial intelligence.
Oh, yeah. The experts analyzed this recent Christmas retail attack in Spain that just perfectly illustrates the leap from, basic automated scripts to active AI engagement.
And details of that Christmas attack are so alarming. The attackers didn't just fire off a static piece of malware and wait. They deployed an AI bot that actively monitored the retailer's defensive responses in real time.
Yeah, it's wild. Because traditionally, if a company's firewall blocked a surge of malicious traffic, the attackers would have to retreat, manually rewrite their exploit signatures, and then try again days later.
So it was a slow process.
Very slow. But in this instance, the AI bot was dynamically mutating its payloads, shifting attack vectors, and balancing loads to stay just under the retailer's rate-limiting thresholds.
Wait, so it was adapting on the fly?
Literally in a matter of minutes, it adapted to the countermeasures instantly.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
We are looking at an arms race where the offensive tools are actually thinking on their feet. The sources break down this evolution of AI beautifully, I think.
They really do. It's moved so fast.
Right, because just a few years ago, we were entirely focused on generative AI. You input a prompt, the model generates some code or an image. Then businesses moved to private AI.
Yeah, pulling those models in-house so they could securely parse proprietary data without, leaking intelligence.
Exactly. But the 2026 frontier that Vera and Asensio highlight is agentic AI.
And agentic AI represents a complete paradigm shift in computing. We're moving from AI as just a conversational interface to AI as an autonomous actor.
Meaning it actually does things for you.
Right. Instead of waiting for a human to hit enter, an agentic model is granted read and write permissions to external APIs. It's basically a 247 copilot that executes complex, multi-step workflows entirely on its own.
And the sheer scale of this is just hard to fathom. The experts in the broadcast predicted that within a year, the average user will be managing around 200 of these autonomous agents.
200! It's crazy to think about.
I know. You'll have an agent acting as your scheduling assistant, another one drafting marketing materials, maybe even an agent analyzing sports statistics and placing bets for you.
Yeah, Asensio even joked about cloning his own professional decision-making processes so his digital agents could just keep handling his workload while he pre-retires.
Let's sign me up for that. But honestly, what's fascinating here is the massive loss of deterministic control.
Oh, absolutely. When you grant 200 autonomous agents access to your digital life, you are multiplying your attack surface exponentially.
Because you can't watch all of them at once.
No, you can't. And the experts noted that even the architects of these large language models readily admit they cannot fully predict what these models will do. They operate as black boxes.
So if the creators of the AI don't even know exactly how the model arrives at a decision, the security implications are terrifying. Like, how does a highly regulated entity, say Bankinter, defend a network when their own employees are deploying unpredictable autonomous agents?
Well, Bankinter's strategy, as outlined by Asensio, is deeply pragmatic. They understand that attempting to just ban AI is a losing battle.
Because people will just use it anyway, right?
Exactly. If you implement a blanket ban, your workforce will simply bypass the network and use these tools on their personal devices. And then you're plunged into the dangerous territory of shadow IT, where the security team has zero visibility.
Plus, refusing to leverage AI means you're basically ceding a massive efficiency advantage to your competitors.
Right. So instead of trying to build a wall around the AI, they focus entirely on the data flowing into it. They operate under the assumption that no external server and no cloud-based AI model can ever be trusted.
Okay, so how does that work in practice?
They strictly monitor and control the outbound data streams, ensuring no personally identifiable information or proprietary code ever leaves their protected environment.
And that approach is really the foundation of modern network defense, isn't it? The traditional concept of a security perimeter, like a thick castle wall with a firewall, acting as a moat that is completely obsolete.
Oh, it's totally dead. The castle wall is dead because the concept of the office is dead. The discussion actually referred to this as the liquid workplace.
The liquid workplace, I like that. Because productivity happens everywhere now.
Exactly. A user might be authenticating from a mobile network at a coffee shop, then switching to a tablet on a train, all while an external contractor is remoting into the same project from another continent.
So when the perimeter dissolves into a liquid workplace like that, the only viable defensive architecture is zero trust.
Or confianza cero, as they call it. And the core philosophy there is enforcing minimum privileges for the absolute minimum amount of time. The system assumes that every network segment is already compromised.
So the standard analogy for zero trust used to be a hotel, right? Where instead of just checking IDs at the lobby, you have a bouncer at every individual room.
Yeah, that's a classic way to explain it.
But based on the technical depth they're discussing here, that analogy doesn't even go far enough anymore. Zero trust is more like a microscopic cryptographic hall pass.
Hall pass, yeah, I like that.
Like when you request access to a specific database table, the system analyzes your behavioral biometrics, your device posture, your physical location, and then it grants you a decryption key that's valid only for that specific data packet. And the key just self-destructs milliseconds later.
Which is incredibly secure. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the sheer volume of those micro-verifications is precisely why AI is an absolute necessity for network defense.
Oh, because a human couldn't possibly keep up.
Not a chance. A human security team, even a whole legion of them, cannot manually evaluate millions of contextual access requests per second. The telemetry data alone would crush them.
Right.
Plus, human analysts really struggle to identify subtle lateral movements within a network, especially when attackers deploy noisy, automated smokescreen attacks that are designed specifically to generate thousands of false alarms.
But wait, if every single digital action, every file open, every API call requires a cryptographic verification based on real-time analysis, doesn't that compute overhead introduce crippling latency?
You would think so, yeah.
I mean, how does a business maintain agility if the network is constantly stopping to ask for an ID? It seems like it would just grind a business to a halt.
Well, the mitigation of that latency relies on shifting the defensive focus. Instead of protecting the underlying infrastructure, you protect the data itself at the application layer. The experts highlighted that defensive AI is now being utilized to perform semantic reading of unstructured data on the fly.
Okay, let's drill into that because semantic reading is a massive leap forward. Older data loss prevention systems were incredibly brittle.
Oh, very. They just relied on simple keyword matching.
Right. If a document had the word confidential in the header or a string of numbers formatted like a credit card, the system blocked it, but it lacked any nuance.
Exactly. The flaw in those legacy systems was context. An AI capable of semantic reading doesn't just look for keywords. It uses natural language processing to understand the actual meaning of the document.
So it actually reads it like a human would.
Pretty much. Say an employee copies a paragraph from a sensitive internal strategy memo and tries to paste it into a public AI translation tool.
Which happens all the time.
Right. Even if they stripped out all the confidential headers and proprietary names, the defensive AI understands the structural intent of the text. It recognizes it as protected intellectual property and instantly terminates the clipboard action before the data can leak.
Wow. And the system makes those contextual micro-decisions at the edge rather than routing everything back to a central server, which basically eliminates the latency issue.
Exactly. It's a brilliant technical solution.
It is. But we need to look at the economic reality of this. We know the automated threats are cheap, and we know these highly advanced AI-driven zero-trust architectures exist. But how on earth does a regular small business afford to implement all this?
That exact friction was a major focal point for Vera and Asensio. They used the hypothetical example of Mariano's print shop to illustrate the pressure on small businesses.
Yeah, Mariano's print shop is the perfect micro-study of supply chain vulnerability. I mean, a local print shop doesn't think they're a target for international cyber syndicates.
Why would they? They're just printing flyers.
Exactly. But if Mariano prints the quarterly financial reports for a major regional bank, his network is adjacent to the bank's network. Attackers will compromise the poorly defended print shop simply to use their authenticated vendor credentials to slip past the bank's primary defenses.
And because of that exact supply chain risk, massive new regulatory frameworks like the EU's NIS2 directive are forcing strict cybersecurity compliance down the chain to businesses like Mariano's.
But they don't give them any money to do it, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
The regulatory bodies mandate advanced threat detection, but they do not provide the capital required to achieve it. It places an immense financial squeeze on the business owner.
So what does this all mean? If deploying an AI-driven zero-trust architecture requires racks of incredibly expensive NVIDIA GPUs, are small businesses just doomed?
It's a huge concern.
Are they going to fail compliance audits or get wiped out by those automated shotgun blasts we talked about?
Well, the prevailing theory, or hope really, is that AI will eventually democratize security. It should lower the barrier to entry by automating the complex integration work that currently requires expensive human engineers.
But that's the future. What about right now?
Right now, the experts were incredibly candid. The hardware infrastructure for advanced AI is still prohibitively expensive, and very few companies are actually running these models profitably yet.
But they did point to some immediate practical use cases where AI is lowering barriers today without needing a supercomputer.
Yeah, they mentioned Bankinter's FacturaBot.
Right. They built this tool to handle complex, unstructured customer queries regarding invoices, which significantly reduces the cognitive load on their support staff.
And this raises an important point about public-facing security tools, too. Bankinter also developed a security awareness bot designed as a public utility.
Oh, yeah. So anyone, even if you're not a client, can submit a suspicious text message or a questionable email to this bot.
Exactly. The AI analyzes the payload against Bankinter's real-time threat intelligence and provides immediate guidance on whether it's a phishing attempt.
That type of accessible real-time analysis is so crucial because the experts emphasize the statistic that hasn't changed, despite all these advancements in agentic AI and zero trust.
The human element.
Yep. 80 to 90% of successful network breaches still originate with a human being. The initial vector is almost always an employee clicking a bad link or reusing a password.
Yeah, human psychology remains the ultimate unpatchable vulnerability. So for small enterprises like Mariano's print shop, the immediate solution to the compliance squeeze isn't building bespoke AI models.
Right, that's impossible for them.
It is. The solution is relying on managed security service providers. These third-party vendors bundle enterprise-grade zero-trust architectures and spread the massive infrastructure costs across hundreds of clients.
So they provide the defense without the crippling capital expenditure.
Exactly. It's the only way it works economically.
Man, we have covered massive ground today. We started with threat actors launching automated $5,000 ransomware attacks against small municipalities.
Using tools that require zero human oversight, yeah.
Right. And then we mapped the evolution of AI from simple generative prompts to this impending reality where your workflow is executed by hundreds of autonomous agentic bots.
And we explored why the liquid workplace means semantic, AI-driven zero trust is the only way to protect data now.
It is just a landscape where the velocity of both attacks and defenses is accelerating beyond human cognitive limits.
It really is. The architectural shift to verifying every single interaction at the micropacket level, it's no longer theoretical. It is a structural requirement for survival.
So for everyone listening, I want you to consider your own digital footprint. Think about the APIs you have casually granted access to your email or your calendar.
We all do it without thinking.
We do. Think about the fragmented liquid nature of your own workplace and how much sensitive data might be leaking into public language models through simple daily convenience. We are offloading our cognitive tasks to machines, but we cannot offload the risk.
And that reality leaves us with a critical, unresolved dilemma.
What's that?
Well, if Vera and Asensio's 2026 predictions hold true, and you soon rely on 200 personal AI agents operating autonomously on your behalf, booking your travel, negotiating contracts, managing assets, who bears the ultimate liability when one of your digital clones falls victim to a malicious AI scam?
Oh, wow. That is a terrifying thought.
Right. Are we sprinting toward a reality where the actual cyber wars are fought silently in the background by competing algorithms?
Leaving us entirely blind to the conflict until we're handed the bill for the real-world fallout.
Exactly.
Next time a digital interface asks for authorization, you might want to ask exactly who or what is doing the asking.